Hi, Cody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. Am I breaking up any?
No, not at all.
Okay, good, good. I don't know if you heard my dogs in the background. My husband was out, or I'm at home, by the way. So
Okay.
just want to make sure you guys could hear me. And Biddy, you're here too.
Yeah. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Is that how you say your name?
Vidhi. It's
Biddy. Okay.
yeah, perfect.
Okay, that's good. All right, we'll wait a few more minutes, see if anybody else shows up. I know it was kind of on the spur of the moment. I've got a long week planned. I'm going to go to Fort Gordon in Augusta, Georgia, where they have the cybersecurity. I believe it's called their it's like their the Army Cybersecurity Command, and they're having a conference. I think it's called TechNet. So I'm taking one of our students, who's a doctoral student, there to for a poster session on her research. So that's going to be on Wednesday, and tomorrow I have class, and then tomorrow night I have an ISC squared meeting that I have to let them in because they're going to use our campus. So I don't know, it's been a long day for me because I've been on my computer all day long.
Your doctoral student, is that the DSIT program at
It
Middle Georgia
is.
State?
It
Okay,
is.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys probably ought to look into it after you finish your graduates or your master's program. So how far are you into your master's program, Cody?
Oh, this is I just started actually, but I'm
Okay.
planning on graduating December of next year. So
Okay. All right, great. How about you, Vidhi?
I also started just so
Okay.
I'm probably after 1 year. It's planned for the 1 year. Let's see how it goes.
Okay. All right, great. So you guys, let me see. I think anybody else come in yet? I don't see anybody else. Anyway, our meetings are optional because everybody is in different time zones and that kind of thing. So if we have anybody else to pop in, that'll be fine. But I'm actually recording it now, and so I have the Zoom. We also have Teams, and I might try Teams a little later on in the semester. But if we're not able to meet, then I will just record a video on my own and just submit it out there so you guys can see it in your course modules. So I'm going to go ahead, and it's 6:03. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I hope it shares. Let me see. Desktop. No, let's see. Okay, I hope you guys can't see my screen yet, can you?
not yet.
Okay, let's see if I can do just. Okay, there's PowerPoint. Let's do it that way. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, and let's see, I really wanted to talk about the see if I can find it. This, your first assignment. So have you guys started working on it?
Yes, just started.
Yeah,
Okay.
same here.
All right, so you're going to read the research article and then just answer the questions in this template pretty much. And it follows, I mean, it pretty much follows your research perspective with your background, significance, purpose, hypothesis, or a hypothesis is only for quantitative, and that's with like, you're dealing with numbers and money or anything that has to do with numbers, your what you can count, things like that. So your hypothesis is only going to be in a quantitative research. So a qualitative research, which I'm more familiar with qualitative. I've done both, but qualitative is kind of my thing. It has to do with like how people see things, how they feel, and you're getting a deeper insight into a certain process or phenomenon or something like that. But the research article template is to just help you review articles, especially journal articles or research articles. Some of these things will say, answer questions like, does it have this or does it have that? Instead of just answering yes, please add a little bit in there to where, what supports your yes or no answer. So these things can be used for your background information for research. They can be used for your review of literature. And if you ever hear of ROL, that's review of literature. That means you're reading the literature and you're kind of jotting down notes about what you read. And this template will help you do that. So do you have any questions about that?
Yes, I had a question. So for the template, can we fill in our answers directly within the template and send that document back?
Exactly. Yes, you can do that. You can write it any way you want, but yes, that would be perfectly fine. You might have to like make the it looks like a table actually. So you may have to like extend the column in that table to put your data in or your information in. But yeah,
Okay.
that's perfectly fine. So, but yeah, this is just to get you to start reading journal articles and trying to pick out, okay, what's the statement or what's the problem statement or what's the purpose and the goals and just identify certain parts of it. Especially sometimes the methodology is not really explicit, so you have to try to figure out what it is. But just keep in mind that quantitative and qualitative are completely different. Qualitative is actually getting a deeper insight. We also have what's called mixed methods, which is both. So you can have a quantitative survey and an interview to back up the numbers or vice versa. So you can actually have both. And so we'll talk about that a little later on in the semester. But does you guys have any questions about this template?
I don't.
Okay. And then at the very bottom, you just, give your overall reflection about the article. And this is in your own words. So, Vita, you okay with that one? Biddy, you're there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're good with the template?
Yeah, for now it's good.
Okay, well, so if you have any questions and anybody else that views the video that we're recording, just email me and we'll get together and talk or have an online discussion. Oh, and excuse me, any of the assignments, you can actually work individually or in a group. I would like the group to be probably no more than 3 or 4 people, but a lot of times when it gets, more than 3, especially when you're doing research, it kind of gets kind of sticky. Some people don't want to do, their part, but yes, you can, excuse me, you can do it in a group as well, as long as you just submit the same paper in the assignment Dropbox. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start here on writing problem statements, purpose statements, and research questions before we even get into the different methodologies. So your key to research is developing the problem statement. And we'll go ahead and let's see this. So all research starts out by identifying some kind of problem or opportunity about which you want to gain some kind of better knowledge or find a solution for. And sometimes those opportunities can be like in your work environment, your organization, or things that you have, feel very passionate about. Also, when you start reading journal papers, you'll see that there's a gap in certain literature, like they don't explain all of it. Or there's a section in some literature that will have future research suggestions. So you can look at those things too and find out, okay, so they haven't done the future research, so maybe we ought to do the future research. You can also look at maybe even replicating their research, but with different variables or something like that. So that's where we are in the problem statement. So like I said, you can look for those gaps in literature. You can also look in the limitations area in the literature to find opportunities to do your research. Okay, these are characteristics of a good problem statement or a good problem. So it's got to be interesting to you or to the researcher, which is you. And then the scope of the problem has to be manageable. So with your time-wise, money-wise, the scope, and so forth. And we'll talk about that a little bit. If I wanted to do research with, have a survey of all the superintendents in the United States, is that manageable?
No.
No. So you would probably take maybe some kind of cross section, or maybe if you're doing interviews, qualitative has a schedule that says, when I did my dissertation, I had lined up like 12 people. And that was probably a good cross section of different areas, that they were all over the place. So I did 12 people. And so in qualitative, when you start interviewing people and the same data keeps popping up, or the same words or terms or phrases keep popping up, you've reached what's called data saturation. So when that happens, that means that you probably don't need to interview anymore. But it would be extremely hard to interview all of the superintendents in the United States. So, I mean, even it would probably be hard to even get a survey or a quantitative research problem with all of them as well. So you just have to, you got to make sure that the scope of your problem is manageable. Okay, so, and then the researcher is comfortable in terms of their knowledge, time and resources. They can research through collection of that data, and then you analyze that data to come up with some conclusions. And then investigating the problem has theoretical or practical significance. So why would you want to investigate a problem that didn't have some kind of significance? So that just means that first, it's got to be interesting to you mainly. And if it's interesting to you, it's probably interesting to somebody else. But it has to have some kind of practical application or significance. And then it has to be ethical. So you don't really want to, study like maybe kindergartners on what they think about some issue, unless it was, they would have to have their parents' permission and that kind of thing. And then you have the IRB processes. It would be very extensive to get that. But it has to be ethical. And you really don't want to use your own bias in anything as well. So I'm going to go here. Okay, so in identifying a good research problem, so your personal experience, what are you passionate about? Maybe start looking at some of those things. And, or even, like I said earlier, issues at your workplace or institution, reading about a topic that you're interested in. And focusing on suggestions for future research at the end of that journal article. And I talked about that a few minutes ago in the future research section, or even the limitations when they have a research paper, and a researcher will have to put in what were their limitations. It's like, okay, so they were bound by certain things or certain variables, and maybe you wouldn't be bound by those variables. So you need to look at those two areas as well. I'm sorry if you hear that, that's my dog. Okay, so also connecting with people in professional conferences, speaking with experts in the field that you're interested in. So those things will also give you some opportunities to even work with people that are interested in the same things that you are. And if you decide to work in a group, you might want to decide, based on if they have the same interests you have as well. Also, like I said, by replicating the work of others in an attempt to better understand or apply the results of their research that they've already conducted, but maybe with a different outlook or concept or methodology or variables. Okay. And you guys can stop me anytime if you have any questions. Okay. Let me look at my notes here. Okay, so problem statements must be clear and concise, and they must be developed from we use what's called a kind of a top-down inverted triangle. You start out very broad, and then you get more specific. And so this one here, here's two examples. Higher student engagement in courses using online learning management systems. Does that sound like a problem statement to you?
Not really.
It's like, it just looks like a statement, doesn't look like a problem. So it just says higher student engagement in courses using online learning management. It's not even a complete sentence to me. So actually that's got to be developed further. So the thing is, what is student engagement? They really didn't, what's the problem? Is it that, and then the next one, observations indicate there are low levels of student engagement when using online management systems in our school. Well, first off, you've got ours, so they are injecting bias right there because they're talking about their school and they observed it. It looks like to me the problem is low achievement in school. And the scope is a little bit large. So because there are lots of online systems, there's not just, you have to be very specific. And it could be more focused, but it's still okay, the second one. Okay, look at this one. Okay, this one, the problem statement must include variables to be considered too, especially when you're working with qualitative. So the first one here, there's a significant difference in test scores between schools in our district. So there's the our again. But, and then the second one is there's a significant difference in test scores between urban and suburban schools in our district. So what do you think about that?
I would say that's probably a bit better than the ones on the previous slide. But one thing I was curious about, I know that there's bias in the sense that they're referring to their own districts, but given if that's the scope of what they're trying to look at, is that inherently a bad thing, or should they still try to broaden that out?
No, that it's good, but I think that that whole statement needed to be a little bit more focused. But when we get later on in the slides here, you'll see that you start broad and you start getting smaller and more specific. So yes, these are still good, but they probably do need to have a little bit more focus. So, but you're exactly right. So they could say our, but in a research paper, they would probably not put our. They would put what, an elementary school in the Midwest or South Georgia rural town or something like that, and then describe the town and not really say anything about the actual place or location. So okay, so let me see here. So anyway, I see that the problem is low achievement in school, so you could probably go from there. The second one, the scope is a little large. There's lots of online systems. Well, let's see, is this one talking about online system? I think that was another one I'm talking about. This was test scores. Okay. Let me go to this next one. Okay. Oh, the bias. Management members in our corporation believe that employees working in home offices are happier than employees working in traditional offices. What do you think about that? Is that bias?
No.
I'm having a bit of trouble with the word believe. I feel like that sort of indicates that there may be some bias.
Okay, so if you look at management members, what about the other members of the corporation?
Yeah,
it's only management members in our corporation. So this person writing this research paper is also in that corporation. So does he also believe that? You see what I'm kind of getting at? And that the employees working in home office are happier. So maybe the researcher also believes that. You never know. So, and I don't know if that's, if that's true or not, but let me see here. Yeah, what does the rest of the corporation think? Okay. The next one is, this study will prove that purchasing computers to use in the elementary school curriculum will increase achievement. It sounds good, but you still, could see or feel a little bias there. So what you need to do with bias of the researcher is just kind of empty your mind, not have a, you know, what you want your research to outcome to be. You see where I'm getting? You're actually investigating to see if maybe, you know, you're not really proving anything. You're just observing, and you're gathering data, and then you analyze it. Your bias shouldn't be in it whatsoever.
I had I guess a quick question about that. Would
Uh-huh.
that be an example of a selected observation, since it sort of it wants to validate what it already thinks?
Yeah, I think that's where that is coming from. The study will prove, you really aren't proving anything, especially with a hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? It's an educated guess. So just based on data, it doesn't mean that it proves anything. Same thing with any research, because some other researcher will come right behind you and prove that you're wrong, but it's not proof. You know, you see what I'm saying? It's just all of it's a hypothesis or an analysis of the data that you've gotten, your raw data. So, but yeah, those two right there, I do see more in the first one than I do in the second one. If they took that, the study will prove out, it might be a little bit better. But what you're trying to do is broadly identify a problem, and then get a problem statement, then come up with the a research question, or you know, a hypothesis if you're doing quantitative. So did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let me see where I am here. I'm on 8. I've got my notes here too. I'm trying to make sure I got those right. Okay, so your problem statement as part of a proposal. Normally a proposal is just identifies your problem statement, your background, your significance, what's the importance of studying it, and also if it's not interesting or it doesn't have any significance, then why do it? So that's the big thing. So why study it? So anyway, your background has to be supportable and authentic, and so you're getting general information, usually from other researchers and other journal articles at that point. And so then you're doing your problem statement based on that background information that you found. And then the problem statement leads into the significance and then your methodology. Okay. So here's the background. And this was, let's see if this one, this is actually a real research. I believe it was a dissertation from my prior school. In fact, Dr. Terrell was the dissertation chair for this student. So the background here was historically 40 to 50% of the students matriculating into traditional doctoral programs do not graduate. And that when I started my PhD program, that's exactly what they told me. Look to the person next to you on the left, look to the person on the right, and those people won't be here by the end. And I'm like, ooh, that's not good. So anyway, studies suggest that factors such as student feelings, depersonalization, learning styles, all of these things here are the background, and so you have to read all of these things here to come up with the different factors of why students in doctoral programs aren't graduating. But it's actually more on distance-based programs. So, and the problem statement is the attrition rate for students in distance-based programs is consistently 5 to 10% higher than the attrition rate. So you guys have any problem with that so far?
Not.
Okay. Well, you see how the background kind of is broad and then the problem statement gets a little bit more narrow. Uh-oh. I hope Zoom is not going to cut me off, and I'm going to tell you if it does, then I will finish the rest of the lecture. I'll just record it and put it out there. So do you guys have any questions so far?
I don't.
Okay.
I have a question about that sample assignment submission.
Okay.
Do we need to submit some specific document or anything else we can submit as a sample assignment submission?
Oh, the sample, you can just put anything in there. And all that is for me to say that you guys are in attendance. You can just put any Word document, anything, just submit it. Or even do the, if you've already done the introduction discussion, then I'm going to count you present anyway. So, but the submission thing, you can put anything in there, it's fine. And it's not graded. So if you already know how to submit stuff in D2L, then you don't have to worry about it. So
Okay,
I'm good with that. I just need for everybody to do something like the discussion question or submission of a sample, whatever, so that I can say that you're attending. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay. Okay, let me see. Significance of investigating the problem. Okay, so it's got to be significant, or like I said, what's the use in actually studying the research? And so this is a significance statement. Regardless of the reason, withdrawal from a doctoral program is costly to the student, the department and university, and it is imperative that researchers, faculty members, and administrators identify student characteristics predictive of attrition. Identification of these factors will lead to a better understanding of student attrition and serve as impetus for the development of tools and processes that will positively affect doctoral student persistence. So this is the significance for that study. Here is your, I won't say top down because it looks like bottom down. It's an inverted triangle. So you're identifying your problem set with a background and significance. Then you're doing your purpose statement based on that. What is the overarching goal? And then based on your purpose, then you have your research question. What do you want to know? What kind of solution do you have? And then that guides your methodology. And so your methodology is, okay, so what kind of study am I going to do? And how am I going to gather data and that kind of thing? Okay, so your purpose statement here tells your reader what the focus is and the goal of your study. And quantitative, it focuses on numbers and variables, participants, location, and the unit analysis. So the purpose of this study is to determine if different types of feedback will affect fifth grade students' motivation and achievement. So motivation, achievement, are your variables, your participants, fifth grade students, or maybe teachers at this point. And then you also have your different types of feedback is also going to be a variable. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's by just trying to pick out what the variables that you're going to measure, and then you can measure those in quantitative research, and start looking at some of those things, can give you some idea of what kind of, and some of these motivation and achievement has been studied a lot. So you, some of your background information would be motivation achievement in elementary school, and then you would research some like different types of feedback that they use and that kind of thing. So in qualitative, you include your participants, locations, and some kind of central phenomenon. So the example here is the purpose of the study is to gain insight. So you want to get a deeper understanding into new business owners' understanding of the use of social media as a tool for advertisement. So why would you want to study social media as a tool for advertisement for new business owners? It's
To
Maybe-
maybe try to gauge like return on investment from sort of, I guess, buying ad campaigns on social media.
exactly. I mean, it all boils down to profit or, money. So, but see, qualitative, actually you want to get their idea of, okay, what do you think or what do you feel? But quantitative is more about numbers and Likert scales and stuff like that. You can do surveys on both, but the surveys on qualitative work would be more of like, give me your thoughts or your feelings on this thing, things that some of those surveys people don't ever want to fill out, but qualitative does take a little bit longer, well, quite a bit longer than quantitative. Okay, so your research questions should be clear and focused, which you center your research. It's what you want to know about a topic, and it's a statement that identifies what is to be studied. So your research question is also called the methodological point of departure. So that means once you get your research question, then you will know what methodology you should take. So to develop a strong research question from your ideas, you should ask yourself some of these things. What's already known about the problem? That's where you're doing your review of literature and you're reading, lots of reading. And what questions do you want to answer? And then the future, what's the future research being called for? So look at those kinds of things and ensure the characteristics are interesting to you. The scope is manageable. The researcher has time, knowledge, and resources necessary. And that the data can be actually collected and then analyzed. And then also investigate if it has some kind of theoretical or practical significance. Can you apply it in the real world? And also, is it, ethical to investigate that problem? Okay. So here's another one. I'm hoping it's not going to cut us off anytime soon, but you guys are still there with me, aren't you?
Yes, but
Okay.
it says, at least on my screen, that there's less than a minute remaining. I don't know
Okay.
about that.
So I may just stop at this, but this is a good one here.